You have a number of different resources available to you to determine what the different field values represent in the JSON response from the server. In many cases, text is used, such as this when you first log in. In this case, the field should be pretty self-evident. But what about the known objects session info? Let's take a look at it. In this case, we can make a pretty good guess, but you can also look at a file that you can find in the FirstClass Web Services, the fcws/js directory, and that file is called fcpdefs.js. Let's open this in our code editor. Starting at line 868, we see a field IDs object. Here you will find the field IDs and their corresponding reference names. For example, we see field 7001 is the first name of the logged in user. 7009 is the logged in user's current disk space used. This is all information that's returned by the session info request. There are lots of other useful bits of information in this file that you can explore as well. For example, let's take a look at typed folders, calendar all for this user. Again, we can guess what the field IDs represent, but looking back in our fcpdefs.js file, we can see that starting at line 643, we see such things as meaning event name, field 8010, start date, duration, etc., all related to the calendar. There's another way to find this information as well, as we'll see in a minute. I'd recommend that developers keep this file handy, as it will become invaluable as you begin to interpret your JSON responses. The documentation is also a good place to look for information to help you. For example, there's a section on common form field IDs and types. And as you can see, there's an entire section on calendar events and tasks, so the fcpdefs.js file may not be necessary in this case. When we retrieve our desktop container, it returns more than just the containers on the desktop. It also contains the people you follow, subscriptions, and watches. In this case, you might have to do some investigation on your own to determine what each object type is. You can do this by exclusion. For example, I know that I'm following a James Doe, so I can search on James Doe and see that there is a field in the short info that is object subtype 33. If I copy and search on this item, I find that it is consistent with the rest of the people that I follow. So I can now know that a subtype 33 on the desktop return request will indicate those are the people that I am following. A final tool to use is the FirstClass client itself. For example, if I use the API inspector to request known object preferences, I get a wide range of key value pairs returned. If I log in as that user using the desktop client and open the preferences for that same logged in user, we can see that the data is coming from this form. Let's go to the Message tab, and I can see that this field 1106 is coming from here. If you want to check for the field values on any field in any form in the client, you can hold the Control and Shift keys down on Windows or Option and Shift keys down on a Mac and hover over the field, and a pop-up will reveal that field ID. All fields on message forms or system forms are represented in the form data object as key value pairs in your return JSON. So using the desktop client can help you a lot to determine which field values are which. Using a combination of these resources, you should be able to analyze the JSON response and then use your parsing HTML and CSS skills to represent the data to your users. You can take a look at the code sampler and other examples for some of the responses to see how I have parsed and represented the JSON to the end user.